Hello, my 3D printer peeps. I'm here with the Bambu Lab P1S and the Bambu Lab P2S. The updates included in the P2S from the P1S are plentiful, and the total package is an enormous step up from the P1S. This is more than just a refresh of the P1S. It's an entirely new printer worthy of the two in its name. And right now, we're going to have a look at why. Here I am in front of both printers. You can actually see the P2S is bigger. It is physically larger and taller than the P1S. It's also a different color. There's a mind game going on here. You'll note it's gray, the same color as Bambu Lab's higher-end printers such as the X1C and the H2D. In secret Bambu Lab language, gray means better. This piece of trash is the P1S screen. This beautiful touchscreen is the P2S screen, the same beautiful screen you'll find on the X1C, H2D, and other high-end Bambu printers. With this screen comes a buffet of enhanced control and quality of life features, such as the ability to reprint files from the screen by selecting their thumbnail. Selecting their thumbnail also allows you to confirm specific settings such as the type of nozzle and print bed that were chosen for this project, as well as the ability to turn on and off time-lapse, flow calibration, and auto bed leveling. It also allows you the ability to easily change the material you're printing on from this screen to any filament currently installed in your AMS. This enhanced reprint functionality is a massive game changer in real-world use when you're printing day to day. The next one is hiding right here. It's called air condition, and right now it's set to cooling. Touch into here and you'll see cooling and heating. Listen. Did you hear it? The P2S has a system that can maintain a heated chamber or a cooler chamber. For example, when printing with PLA, you need lower temperatures. Should the chamber get too hot, you can have problems that can cause print failure. In the past, we rectified these by cracking the lid, cracking the door, or removing the lid completely. The P2S will now draw cooler air in and expel hotter air when printing with lower temperature filaments such as PLA. When printing in higher temperature filaments or toxic filaments that require filtration, we now have the heating mode. This will circulate the air within the chamber, maintaining higher temperatures and eliminating exhaust out of the machine. The air instead is drawn into a filter and then recirculated within the machine, maintaining temperature, eliminating the release of toxins into the air. You also get easy access to manual controls to run your extruder, your hotbed temperature, and your nozzle temperature. Moving along to the Settings tab, you now have access to your calibration features. In here, you can choose specific calibrations to run by simply checking boxes or unchecking boxes. Backing out, and you have a live view camera calibration. Hiding under the print bed are a series of markers. The camera reads these markers in order to calibrate itself to adjust its position and improve detection accuracy for AI functions. Should you need to calibrate the camera, you simply remove the print bed and press Start. Moving down one notch, we also have an AI assistant. Should the printer need to bring something to your attention, it will do so here. Let's see what happens when I remove the cover of the toolhead. You'll see the AI assistant is unhappy. It's telling us the front cover of the toolhead fell off. Let's put the cover back on. The error is gone, and the AI assistant is happy. Let's move on to the next major update the P2S allows: native compatibility with the AMS Pro. And with that comes some really great features that are easier to utilize than retrofitting to a P1S. One of those is filament drying. The P1S does not provide external power to power the heating function of an AMS2. You need to use a separate external power supply. The P2S is built with the AMS2 in mind and provides that power out of the box with no additional AC adapter required. Also, accessing these features is much easier. Simply touching a button brings you to the drying function. On the screen, you see a visual and numerical representation of the humidity level in the AMS2 Pro. You may choose the type of filament you are drying, the temperature, and how long you wish to dry, and press start, all through an easy to comprehend and easy to navigate touchscreen. We are not done yet. Returning to the settings screen, and you will see Toolbox. Here on the Toolbox, you have the ability to utilize your P2S itself as a filament dryer. You would touch Dry Filament, telling it what kind of filament you need to dry, setting the temperature, setting the amount of hours, pressing Prepare, placing a spool of filament on the print bed, closing the lid, and pressing Start. Your P2S will now become a filament dryer for that spool of filament. Be sure to do this with the door closed and the lid on. As you can see, the P2S screen is a game changer for a multitude of reasons. Even though some of these functions exist on the P1S, most people do not know how to find them, and even if you do, it's super inconvenient clicking around this little dial trying to access them and make them cooperate. Here is one of the critical components of a Bambu Lab printer. This is the poop chute, seen in the P1P, P1S, and X1 series. This poop chute is undeniably the weak link in Bambu Lab early printers. This is a nozzle wiper. The nozzle wipes itself back and forth on this little piece of PTFE. The poop is dumped in here in front of this little door. When the hot end parks itself over the toilet to poop, it pushes the door forward. It poops a little ball on top of that trap door, and when done, moves away, releasing the trap door and dumping the poop out the back. Many times, the poop would catch on that door. Also, many times, this wiper would fail to remove the filament from the nozzle, causing the nozzle to drag a blob of poop onto the print bed and ruin your print. Here in the P2S, you will see an entirely redesigned poop chute. There is a new wiper. This multi-pronged rubberish wiper has replaced the PTFE wiper and even the second generation rubber toothbrush type wiper seen in the A1. However, Bambu didn't stop there. They went all in to tackle this poop problem, adding a secondary mechanism, this metal wedge right here. The print head rocks against this lever. When doing so, this metal wedge scrapes the filament off the nozzle, ensuring it drops into the toilet and not onto the print bed. There is a small hidden detail in this process. Here is a closer look. Can you see what the new wiper mechanism is hiding? That's right, teeth. These teeth will grab that filament when popping it off the hot end. Another major change here in the poop chute is the complete removal of the trap door. The trap door is no longer a thing. If this new wiper and new scraper can remove poop chute clogging and the dragging of poop onto your bed, that makes this new poop chute a massive update for people doing a lot of multicolor printing. Let's have a look at the tool head. This nightmare is the P1S tool head. The tool head cover is attached by one single connection. That connection powers a cooling fan. That cooling fan is attached by one little press-on connector. That connector simply pops off. This is a BTT Revo. However, it connects to the hot end in the same manner, utilizing the original OEM fan. This cheap, generic China fan right here. The hot end also connects to the tool head using these crappy press-on fittings. Here is the extruder. Here is the PTFE tube. This little piece of plastic helps guide the PTFE correctly into the coupler and keep things where they belong. The hot end is held on by these two screws and the whole fitting slides into place. This is the P2S hot end. It is also connected by a magnet and held on by one single cable. However, that cable is really short. Gone is the press-on connector. This is that connector. It comes off easily. The PTFE tube is now free of that guide and simply releases with a simple push of the PTFE coupler ring, like just about any other PTFE coupler. You might notice how much cleaner the tool head is with no exposed wires or connectors at all. Here is the new hot end. This is an H2D style hot end. You'll see the fan attached to it now has a funnel directing the air more accurately where it needs to be. We can pop off this silicone boot and see the nozzle. Changing the nozzle on a P1P or P1S is a royal pain in the ass. It requires either buying a complete assembly and then connecting a bunch of press-on wires, or buying just the nozzle part and having to remove a thermistor, heater, apply grease, connect a clip, and reconnect those annoying push-on wires. None of that is a thing. We now simply open this clip and remove the entire assembly. Installing a new one is as simple as sticking it on and closing the clip. This new quick swap, cold swap hot end is an enormous step forward for multiple reasons. Now, if you have a nasty nozzle clog and simply need to get back to work, you would just pop off the hot end and pop in a new one. If you have a large project and don't want to work with a smaller nozzle, you simply pop off the hot end and pop in a larger hot end. Here in the extruder, the P2S comes with a hardened steel gear pre-installed. You might notice these 3 yellow dots on the silicone boot. These markers are readable by the P2S to determine whether or not this silicone boot is installed or missing. Let's have a quick look at the bed mounting system. Here is the P1S hotbed. The only positioning guide are these 2 plastic notches here in the corners. Here on the P2S, you will notice a few changes. Most notably is easy access to the hotbed screws. And now, the removal of those corner notches with this new center guide in its place. This setup is reminiscent of the setup on an A1 print bed. However, I find the A1 print bed somewhat cumbersome to line up, while I did not have any issues on this particular setup on the P2S. Remember back in the day, like, I don't know, yesterday, when printers would just scrape their nozzle against the print bed, wearing out a hole in it? This right here is a nozzle cleaning plate. The machine may still do fine cleaning here in the back. Let's talk about lighting. Here in the top left, the printer's right of the P1S is this LED. This single low power crappy LED is the only internal lighting on the P1S. Sitting next to it is the P1S camera. This camera is actually not so bad. Here we are looking at the P2S. You can see how bright this scene is. On the P1S, I was using external lighting to help see the camera and the inside of the printer. Here on the P2S, I am using no such lighting. Here is the new 1080p AI camera mounted in roughly the same place as the P1S. You may wonder, why has the lighting been positioned further back in the printer? That reason is because the P2S now has a second light in the front of the printer, angling down towards the front of the print bed. These two lights make for a considerably brighter chamber. Hiding here in the corner is the chamber temperature sensor. Moving to the inside of the P1S is a P1S lead screw. The lead screw is installed into a bearing. Some people believe this is bad because if the lead screw has a slight bend in it, that bend will exert its force on the hotbed. Whereas if the lead screw was free, that bend would have much lesser effect on the print bed. It would appear Bambu Lab agrees. This is the lead screw on a P2S. You will notice no bearing. Instead, this lead screw is free floating underneath this plastic housing. All three lead screws are this way. Next up, a quick look at these two black rods right here that your tool head rides on. These are carbon rods. Here on the P2S, those rods are gone and have been replaced with hollow steel rods. Bambu Lab claims these rods have a smoother surface and are easier for maintenance. Here on the inside left of the printer, the printer's right side, there is a large auxiliary fan. On the P1P, this fan was an optional accessory. On the P1S, this fan is included here on this side. The other side does not have an auxiliary fan. On the P2S, this is exactly the opposite. Here on the right side of the printer's left, is the auxiliary fan. You'll notice it's a much cleaner design than the P1S. However, the opposite side, where the auxiliary fan is installed on the P1S, there is no auxiliary fan. But you'll notice there are little mounting pins where you can buy an additional auxiliary fan and install it here, giving you an auxiliary fan on both sides. Our next item is hiding under the P2S. When the Bambu Lab P1P initially came out, Bambu Lab released a vibration dampening foot add-on. Those feet absolutely sucked. As soon as I turn off my camera, I'm going to put the original feet back on. Shortly after, they discontinued them and released this new version. These feet simply stuck up into the holes underneath the P1P or the P1S. While these are greatly improved, I have never chosen to use them. The P1S comes with these feet pre-installed. However, this is an all-new third iteration of the feet. You'll see how much smaller, firmer, and more compact the new feet are. This big one here is the old foot. The only issue I have with this is that Bambu has offered no alternative. You either use these feet or the P2S sits on plain plastic. I would have liked a hard rubber option. These feet simply pop in and out. You'll notice the P1P sits flat on a table. Picking this printer up is not the easiest thing. However, Bambu Lab has included a handle on the P2S. This handle on both sides of the P2S allows you to easily grab it, pick it up, and carry it away. Finally, we have reached the back of the machine. My P1S has the 4 AMS buffer installed. The original buffer is this little toy. The P1S buffers require 2 cables, one to the printer and one to the AMS. The 4-port buffer hub has the connections on the bottom. The single port buffer has one connector on the side and one connector on the bottom. The buffering is done by one single spring. This is the P2S buffer. You will note 2 springs, and they are much higher quality. This buffer wisely has the connection at the top. It requires only one cable to the AMS and no cable to the machine. One of the biggest problems with the original buffer was the ability to remove a PTFE tube. A special tool is required to reach into the buffer and depress the coupler ring. That is no longer a thing on the P2S. They have added this device right here. You gently depress it and the PTFE tube easily releases. To remove the other side, you would simply slide the buffer forward, depress the ring, and remove the tube. This brings us to one more cool feature of the P2S buffer. That is its cooperation with the external spool holder. This external spool holder has a permanent PTFE feed to the buffer. The P2S is able to switch between external spool and AMS without having to disconnect PTFE for the manual spool. This does not mean you can print with a 5th color. However, it means you can manually switch to the external spool at any time without having to connect or disconnect any PTFE tubes. One of the differences in the P2S buffer is the fact that the P1S has a hub option with 4 PTFE inputs, one for each AMS up to 4 total AMS. This hub only has 2 PTFE inputs, allowing for up to 2 AMS, one in each input and 1 6-pin in each connection. Or you may daisy chain up to 4 AMS using this 4-to-1 adapter. While the P1S is still, in my opinion, one of the crown jewels in all of 3D printing, the P2S is an enormous step forward, offering you a buffet of improvements to make your daily life working with the printer better. I'm Mr. Greg. This is the new P2S, and you're on 3D Rundown. The P2S is also hiding one more fancy new feature. Miss Rundown, can you turn it on, please?